Record, and we are recording. So we are live and recording.
Okay, so hi Mara. I'm going to say hello first today. It is June 12th and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're having the fourth in the WHO webinar series. Last time we got together, about a month ago, we talked about content and SEO and strategies and how and where, and today we're going to talk about how well you did. So this is going to be a really hard session for you personally, I think, because in the sessions that we've had, you've had homework, you've done your work, you've added your content, you went through it and you added your SEO, and oh yeah, now you have to figure out, well, how effective was it for me? So one thing that you want to keep in mind as we move forward today is if things didn't work out the way that you wanted to or at the pace you wanted it to, it's not because you did anything wrong. Significant change takes time. Mara's going to talk to you more about that in her section. But when you're on a diet, you don't lose that 20 pounds in a week generally. It takes some time. So you're trying to gain weight here and gain attention from Google and the other search engines. So when you see the metrics, their numbers, another thing to keep in mind is everything is relative. So you probably want to start by looking at the places, use the tools that we are going to present today, or look in the places that we tell you to look today. Get a benchmark. This is where you're starting. And then come back in a month and and compare. So today I'm going to go first, and I'm going to talk about how to know whether your website is working for you, not whether you did a good job or bad job. We're not doing that thing. It's, did the website work for you? So I'm going to tell you about some tools that will inform you, the statistics, the numbers, what you should be measuring, what do I measure, and what do I do to improve or cause a shift. So the last one in particular is, you know, sometimes the visits to your website, which we all think should go up, 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 sometimes it decreases, and that's a good thing. So that's just a shift we're talking about. Mara's going to jump in after that and talk about what is social success, what is engagement, and why does it matter. Learn when you will likely see sustainable results. Very important to pay attention to that piece. And figure out what to do when it works or it doesn't. Alrighty, so let's start talking about your website. You need to review your statistics in order to get the cold numbers. So just keep in mind that it is programs out there, it's not a person, and you can get your statistics from your actual website. So whether you host with Google, Google does hosting, Google, GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Bluehost, me, somebody else, it doesn't matter. Every single server tracks statistics on the website, on its system. So you will have website statistics available to you. Some places make you pay, most places don't. In particular, I like Stats. And then you can do Google Analytics. Now, a lot of people do Google Analytics, and this is where the important piece to remember is it's all relative. So Google, if you tried to match up Google statistics with your own statistics at your website, there's no way they could match. We'll have a special class on why that happens. Basically because Google thinks it runs the world, and it says, I'm going to count this one, and I'm not going to count this other one. And there's no rhyme or reason. And then keep in mind as you move forward, once you start doing your content work and your SEO work, that you want to ask every single person that contacts you, how did you find me? And if they tell you the internet, that's not good enough. Oh, did you get referred from a website? Did you do a search in Google? Help them out by giving suggestions. Did you see me on a panel or whatever? But get the real information, not just the internet. So once you get your numbers, what are you looking at? So did your traffic increase or decrease? Oh yeah, so I put a little, is it acronym up there? TTAT squared. Traffic, time, activity, topics, and topics. So did traffic increase or decrease? So since we're starting out, we want to make sure that our traffic increases. And it will increase over time. But as you get better at doing your search engine optimization on your content, it's actually going to decrease. So that doesn't make any sense if you're doing an awesome job, right? So how it works is it will initially increase because Google's going to go, oh, I found out, I really understand who this person is. And as you get better at your search engine optimization, you're going to get more detailed. So Google's going to eliminate bringing people to you that are kicking the tires. Google's going to bring people to you that are farther down in the purchasing cycle. So your numbers will actually decrease, but you're going to have a higher quality visitation. Number 2 is increase the time spent on each page. So even if you go from 100 to 1,000 visitors, are they spending half the time on each page? Are they spending twice the time on each page? What's going on? So if they're spending very little time, they may not be reading your content. That's an indicator to you that, oh, I should review the content. Is there an increase in activity on your website? So when you go and look at your statistics, there's a section called pages. Oh, by the way, to these statistics, there's no difference between pages and posts. So everything is measured as a page. So they will list the most popular pages on your website. So you go look at those and you see, well, were they forums? Oh, it says that 700 people visited my forums. I only got 20. Go take a look at your forum. What's going on? The activity might be, oh, 1,700 people watched my video when last month only 60 watched my video. So these are the kind of comparisons you're looking for. An increase in activity at your website is always good. Let's see, oh, most popular pages, posts, and topics. So the other thing that you look at the most popular pages and posts for is to glean what the most popular topics are. So if you go to your website and you put a ton of work into a page and you find out that it didn't have a lot of visitation, but this other page that you didn't give a lot of credit to got a lot of visitation, then you have to step back and ask yourself, well, maybe I should be writing about this other topic instead of the one that I invested time in. And then the other activity, the one that you invested a lot of time in that you think is really important and people should be wanting to learn from, you know, take a look at it. Did you, what does the content look like? Is there space on the page for people to rest their eyes? Is there an image on the page for entertainment? Is there a space where you can fit in some of your key topics? I'm trying to get away from keyword terms, so I'm using key topics today. But anyway, so examining which pages that people go to the most, excluding the home page. The home page does not get counted as popularity because generally you end up on the home page of someone's website. If I read an article that Mara wrote, generally in the byline, it has a link to her home page instead of some page that's deeper in her website. So which terms and topics are search engines using to send traffic to your website? So this is really important. Because what happens is people go, oh my God, I got all this traffic at my website. I used to get 10 visits per month, and now I'm up to 100 per month in 1 month, and that's awesome. And then when you look at the terms, they came to the website, they were brought to the website by the search engines by their name, Karen Callahan, or Adventures Online, or Adventures in Marlborough. So when you see your name or your business name, what that does is it continues to put the burden on you to show up and do the networking. And what I'm talking about, and Mara's talking about, is having the tools working for you when you're going on vacation. We want your website and your social media to be working for you while you're away, so when you get back, you have those inquiries to answer. So if they're looking for your business name, or they're looking for your name in particular, they've met you, you had to be present, you gave them a business card. So you really, it's not a lot of gain. Now, it might be a gain if you know that you went to a networking event and were so jazzed about the work you've done on your website, you kept mentioning it. You might know that you got a couple of more people to go there, so through that conversation, but you still had to be present. So we're looking for terms that are generic, if you will, to your business. We're looking for dentist in Marlborough, business consultant on the North Shore. web developer in Central Mass. So we're looking for those generic kind of things, WordPress blogs, all right? So that's what I measure, TTAT squared, your topics. So on the next one, what do I do to improve? So you've got your numbers, you're happy about them or you're not happy about them. So in order to increase your activity, I would say modify your invitation. You know, the activity is the activities. Register for my event, sign up for my email list, send me an inquiry on my Contact Us page, watch my video. So if you're not getting enough of any of those, then I would, you know, those things are what they are. So you need to work on modifying the invitation. What words are you using? Make it juicier, make it sexier. I don't know, but that's where I would play, because those items are what they are. Download my ebook. So anyway, so just modify the invitation. So if the case is that you did not get enough traffic, people are not spending enough time, or people are coming to your website in an off topic, I'm calling it, oh, let me tell you that story. In an off topic, then here's some things that you need to do. So what do I mean by off topic? Well, I've been doing this for 21 years. I've been writing in my blog since 2004. And long time ago, everybody, all my clients were asking me, when I set them up with WordPress in the very beginning, you could never copy straight from Word or PDF or anything and put the content in your WordPress blog. You first had to drop it into an editor, and on the PC it's Notepad. So so many people ask me how to do this. I wrote a post, how to add Notepad to your desktop. And believe me, if you search for Notepad today, you're going to find me. So good news, I got found. Bad news, it's off topic. It's totally what I don't want to be known for, and yet it is embedded so deeply in Google. I ran across it again this weekend when I was looking at my statistics. So be very careful what you write about. People often ask me about email. I have often wanted to write, look, this is how you set your email up, but now, because of that Notepad, I do not want to get caught in that thing. I'm writing about WordPress. I'm writing about websites. Anyway, stay on topic. Don't do an aside. Oh, yeah, by the way, we went on vacation and we did because that's what you'll get found for and not your topic. Okay, so you're not getting enough traffic. You're not getting they're not spending enough time on your website, or it's off topic. So review your content. That's the easiest, right? Review your content for the key topics and tweak those. And so just keep in mind, if you're going to change something, don't change 6 things and then go back next month, because you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot. Look at your content and say, oh, I see places where I can add more keyword terms, or I can change these words around. And so, you know, from last time, they will move my important words up closer to the beginning of the sentence or the paragraph or whatever. So my cursor is moving on me. Is that me with my hands? Anyways, so make 1 change, 2 change. I mean, if the changes make change for the content, then change the content. But don't be doing all 5 of these at the same time, because you're never going to know what worked. And that's what you're trying to figure out, what's working for me. Add more content. So by that, I'm not saying take the existing ones. I'm saying, oh, maybe you need to add more posts about a certain topic. And of course, I'm saying use your key topics. Maybe if the lack of happiness that you have over your statistics lasts for several months, you might want to review what your key topics are. Sit down at Google again, enter them in again. See if they're bringing up individual businesses, or are they bringing up organizations? You know, it's very difficult for us as individual sole proprietors to beat out any organization. So we may always, the best we might be able to do sometimes is end up on the second page for certain very high-level generic terms like business consultant. I mean, that's a really toughie. Review your social media for hot topics. So maybe you're writing about something that people have moved on. They're like, oh yeah, that was yesterday. Now we're talking about this, right? And you know, with social media that it happens all the time. So maybe your content isn't relevant to what everyone wants to see today. And don't misread me. It could be very relevant to your business. It could be very important. But if everybody's talking about apples and you're still on bananas, you want to draw them to your website. So start talking about apples. Socialize your content more or differently. So it could be that you're writing a post and you're spending, I mean, I have spent 12 to 14 hours sometimes because, for a 10-minute post, because you need to do the research. And I want to be correct when I put the stuff out there, and you want to include links, and you want to test the links over days to make sure they work. But once you put all your heart and soul into that, you need to go out and tell everyone in the world, I wrote this marvelous post. So FYI, Maura's going to talk about social media, but I just want to make a comment about when you socialize your post. You can't just say, my latest post is up and include a link. That's ridiculous. I get an invitation from an organization that I belong to that says, our monthly women's group is coming up, and then read attached PDF. I mean, you can guess whether I read that attached PDF or not, but if you know me, like, yeah, right. I mean, how arrogant can you get, right? So when you socialize your content, you learned last time, and maybe the time before too, we talked about hashtags. You want to hashtag it, like I do hashtag WordPress. If I'm going to retweet someone else's stuff, which is not what I'm talking about right here, but I'm talking about hashtags, and I also retweet it like WordPress aficionados, WordPress developers, WordPress designers, but always with the hashtag. So never, ever, ever do, I wrote another post, you want to read it. Or do it differently. So maybe you already did socialize it, and maybe you just need to switch your words around. So let's go to the next one. Just a little reminder on the last one. As you improve at adding your SEO to your content, the traffic to your website will decrease because the key topics you are using will be bringing in prospects that are further down the purchasing cycle. So there's 10 or 12 steps in the purchasing cycle. And right now, what Google is going to bring to you is step number 1. So you're going to be down to 6, 7, or 8. So you get less traffic, but it's highly targeted traffic of prospects ready to buy. So remember to socialize your content, and I'm going to pass it over to Maura.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. So we're here to manage our online overwhelm, right? And this is going to sound extremely counter to what we're talking about, but my first piece of advice is to not get so freaked out by the numbers. I'm not a numbers girl. I wasn't good at math as a kid. I make no claims to be good with numbers now. And quite honestly, I've always been a little afraid of metrics because in the social media world, it can be really, really challenging. Unless you have lots of expensive software and you're tracking everything from first words out on a social network all the way down through your sales funnel to cash in hand, it can be challenging. Because one of the first things people want to know, or bosses want to know, or the people sitting sort of behind the computer screens want to know is, what's our ROI? And they only care about bottom line and dollars. And when it comes to measuring success with social media, we have to move beyond that as the only default metric that we're looking at. It's really only part of it. So what can we measure and how? And this, these next couple of slides are based on my experience, sort of the way that I approach marketing and content. As you can tell, I'm not very freak out about the numbers. However, they roll in and we pay attention, obviously, because without it, we're not going to utilize our website. We're not going to utilize our social media. So it's really important to, even though it might freak us out, pay attention and use it to our advantage. So what can we measure and how? So one of the things that I like to stress with my clients is month over month growth, right? And those are our numbers, that's our volume. So those are the things like making sure you have followers, right? Super important, especially as you're starting out and you're getting very comfortable with social. Making sure you have followers. But what really matters in the long run is the awareness, the engagement. And then how conversions happen, right? Are you actually converting people to be your people through your social and through your website? You want to make sure that people are engaging with you and your content. And I think that's probably the biggest thing to look for, that the number of people who know you is always growing, and that these people are becoming more educated over time with the content you're putting on social and on your website. And that as they become more educated by you, they also become closer to you, right? It develops that sort of relationship, which social media often takes the place of that face-to-face for a lot of folks. And like Karen said, you don't have all the time to be out there doing the networking to drive people. So your social and your website need to do that work for you. And so the more you get people to engage with you on social, the easier it is for that to happen. So let's take a look. This is just a snapshot, just so you guys can see. Every platform has its tools that you can find. And this is just a quick snapshot of Facebook analytics, right? These are your insights, and this is just the overview. But as you see, and I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. You can? Awesome. These are all the different things that you can track statistics for. And you can see how you're doing. You can see how many page likes you've gotten and the reach. And I have it set to the last month, honestly, because if you look week over week, you're going to drive yourself batty. Unless you're running a campaign and you really want to focus on the minutia of like the last 24 hours, the last 7 days, keep everything month to month. It really does. It's better at showing sort of the trends. And that's what we're looking for, is consistency over time and trends. So keep that in mind. And what I'm going to send along with our follow-up email, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, are some resources, some different software, websites, different programs you can use to track some of these statistics for your social. So I think the most important question is, are you engaging? And some of these things to watch, right? Followers and likes we talk about. When you're starting out on social, it's really important to build those because otherwise you're talking to nobody, right? So we need to build that audience. We need to find the people who want to listen to us, who need to hear what we have to say. So followers and likes are important as you're starting out. But as you get into it, shares and comments become priceless. That shows how people are engaging with you. It shows how engaging your content is. And that goes for Facebook, for Instagram, for LinkedIn. Are people commenting? Are people reading it enough and feel moved enough to give you their input or their feedback or to add something to what you're talking about? Are they sharing it with their followers and their friends, right? Did it resonate enough with them to share it? The thing, we're aiming for in the long run is consistency and reach, right? So are you gaining followers, right? So you have your initial build where you're sharing your page and you're getting people to like you and follow you. But then it becomes, how is that growing over time? Are you gaining followers? So the more content you put out on your website and on your social platforms, are you getting more followers? And Karen talked a little bit about hashtags. Hashtags are super important for this. And it's fun to kind of test out, and where are they coming from? So I've noticed as of late with my Instagram, I'm using some new hashtags, and my business following on Instagram has been growing over the past few weeks because of the hashtags I'm choosing to use in my posts. And I switch them up, and sometimes I see a bigger gain and sometimes I don't. So it's really just looking at that sort of stuff to see what's resonating with folks, what hashtags are being followed, where are the popular ones for what messages you're trying to share. Karen said, notebook, that's not necessarily what she wants to be gaining traffic on. So what are the hashtags we want to use, right? What do I want people to find me for? And then one of the things too I want to make mention of is engagement per follower, right? So we're talking about having like followers and likes and comments and shares. The one thing we have to worry about, especially in social media, is sort of that comparison monster, right? So Maura, small business owner, can't really compare herself to, big consulting firm on Newbury Street. I mean, I can if I want to feel crummy every day, right? Who wants that? But if you look at engagement per follower, right? And so then you look at how many likes and comments your posts are getting per individual follower you have. This way you don't get caught up in the larger brands metrics. It's possible for a smaller page to get more engagements per follower than larger ones, even though you might have less overall engagement, right? So it really does depend. You have to compare, to use fruit again, apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And so I think that's really important to keep in mind. So when is this all going to work? When are you going to see results? This is the hard part, right? This is sort of the hard conversation to have because, as Karen mentioned earlier, significant change does take time. It depends on where you're starting from, and it depends on your efforts. Are you able to consistently contribute content? Are you responding to comments? Are you following people who are following you? Are you checking out people who are liking and engaging with your content? I tell my clients, somewhere between 3 and 6 months, you're gonna see inconsistent improvements, right? Your graphs are gonna go like this. As you start to talk and you're testing out your hashtags and you're testing out your content and you're finding what resonates, what images to use, what visuals work with your intended audience. But then from 6 to 12 months, you see this shift and you start to see, and Karen said it too, it becomes quality over quantity. And you see that consistent, steady growth. And then you're going to start to see the conversion start to happen, right? So you're seeing the following and the engagement, and that stuff builds from 3 to 6 months into 9 months. And then you start to see that 6 to 12 month period is you're starting to see on the, I don't want to say the back end of your business, but really on the revenue side of things, then you're starting to see some trends, right? And at first you may not realize like, oh, this is what's happening, but that is what's happening. So it's not like I started posting yesterday on social media and I have 4 new clients. I mean, if it works like that, congratulations, and let's talk because I want to know what you're doing. Yeah, call me. But it's that slow and steady rate. And one day you're going to, a year, 6 to 12 months later, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's working. This is what's happening. So that's totally great. But it's patience. It's definitely a game of patience. And so it's funny because social media happens so quick. It's so quick. It's always changing. You're constantly do, go, but the results are kind of on that back end. So great. We've waited. We're patient. So now what happens when it's actually working? When it doesn't work, and Karen had made mention of this too, it's the same thing with your website. You go back and you visit, right? You see what pages and posts had the greatest engagement, the greatest success, what resonated, what didn't. What do you think if it didn't work, let's change something. And I take things very personally in my work, especially. And so when something doesn't work, I get really frustrated. But one of the things that doing more and more with social has taught me is that this is all iterative, right? We're just testing new things. It's all an experiment. And everybody's different. And one of the biggest things, this is something I tell my clients all the time, it's not what we want people to know necessarily. It's not what we think is important because we're not the client. It's what the clients are looking for. It's what the people who need us are searching for, or the words that they use. We'd like to think that everybody needs to know about XYZ, but if what they're really searching for to solve their problems is ABC, then we kind of need to come a little bit closer to what they're looking for. Otherwise, we're not going to connect. But what about when everything's working? Do we just sit back, put our feet up and say, we did it, it's great? No. I mean, you can do that a little bit. So cheer, get excited, a little woohoo, little whoo, right? But then go back to what we talked about months ago in our first session or two. Look at your ideal client profile, right? Who are you talking to? Is it still the same group, first of all? But what are their other challenges? And let's go ahead and replicate the success, right? Talk the way you've been talking, share the quality of information that you've been sharing, keep it consistent and frequent. But choose the next best challenge on that list that you can solve, or the next challenge that you can best solve on that ideal client profile. Look at the analytics we've talked about, and go back and look at Karen's notes from this section. Look at your Google Analytics. Look at your OSTATs. Like, look at those pieces and really see what works and see what doesn't, and then just experiment, right? Just see what's working. the other thing that's really important to note is that the conversation you're going to run into on social media, right? All of that engagement where people are commenting and asking questions and contributing, that's constant. And that's what you're aiming for. That's going to generate new topics for you as well, right? So listening is always probably the most important thing any of us can do as a small business owner or as an entrepreneur, is really to check that out and see what people are looking for and really engage them in that conversation. So let me see, I don't think we have any questions at the moment. Unless Karen, do you have anything to add? I think you're muted, right?
I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So just before we get to the wrap up, some of the things that you mentioned, I forgot to mention, or I wanted to reiterate, or I have something else that's very important that I think needs to be stressed. And that is the thing that you mentioned that I always have to go back and redo things on is use the words that your audience uses. So for instance, for years, I have been a website developer, but what people understand conceptually is website design. So when I introduce myself, I say I'm a website designer developer. And the developer part, they don't even hear because they understand what a designer does. And in fact, I'm not the designer. I work with designers, but I'm not that actual person who does that. So use the terms that your audience is expecting to hear or that they'll understand. The idea is to get them to understand as fast as you possibly can. And the same thing with your website we already talked about. Make sure that they can find the information that they want as quickly as they can. Iterative, I love that word. I didn't mention how often you should go and look at your website statistics, but in my brain I was thinking monthly. And one thing to keep in mind, while you were talking, I was thinking, oh, by the way, not only do we have to have patience with ourselves and be compassionate and just understand that all the numbers are just relative. On the whole, we want the numbers to increase. But if you're getting page 404 errors, and those are reported on too, you want those to decrease. So just use your brain, be patient with yourself, and also keep in mind the social media platforms and Google are changing the rules. So it could end up someday that you put all this effort in, and no sooner do you put that effort in, it doesn't get lost. It's just that the game changes a little bit. So that's when you come back to us, and we'll probably have another series or something. I don't know. Although I didn't mean that to be a commercial, but anyways, I mean, it happens. We have some things going on externally that impact our ability. And you don't want to make this a first-time job. So I think it's really important to just chill out. I wanted to reiterate that. Just chill out, and the numbers are relative. And if I can type, I'm in my handout. I am giving an item, and it looks like this. So hopefully everyone can see what I just typed in. It's called citeyourwebsitename.com. So Mara was talking about take a benchmark. I'm talking about taking a benchmark. That's what you type in, site : and the name of your website.com, and go and get your benchmark. That in Google, you type that in. That will tell you what pages in posts that you have Google already has listed in its index. It won't tell you where, it will just have them listed. So that's your benchmark, for instance, today. Go do that right now after the conversation so that you'll have something to go back and say, okay, well, they had 250 linked already, and now I've done all this SEO work and done mindful writing and mindful social media. And then you'll have something to look back on. Are you, when you don't see the numbers climbing, do you see the question there?
I do, Marcia. It's hard. You're totally right. It's hard to stay enthusiastic when you don't see the numbers climbing. Is there an ideal number of times per month one should post a blog that will help? I know from my perspective, when I work with folks, I tell them to start, and Karen, you may have a different or a similar answer. I say consistency first, right? So if you're starting out on a blog and
that's the answer.
you can only commit to once a month, then make sure you're once a month. And then I tend to do every other week, right? And then sort of grow it. And I can be my own worst enemy when it comes to writing on my own blog. So don't necessarily look at mine.
Really, yeah, don't go to my website. So how I would have answered that is I would have said Mara has the answer. And the answer is, it doesn't matter how often, it matters whether you're consistent. So don't look at my blog either, because I just put up my new website, but it's not. I'm also a participant in this class because I have to go back and do the things that I've been ignoring. I just threw the website up there and now I have to do all my stuff. But anyways, so it's consistent. Like I would have guessed about once every 4 to 6 weeks. So just be consistent as you build your audience.
Yeah.
You know, and the conversation. Pardon me?
Yeah, it can be hard too, because when I get on my kick, like right now I'm producing a lot of content because my site is new as well. It's refreshed. And so I want to be doing all of this copywriting and content writing, but I know if I'm posting 3 times a week, it's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to keep that up.
Right. Well, I mean, the people that post 3 times a week are the people that are monetizing their blogs. I mean, they're at a different level, an advanced level that all of us can reach if that's what we choose. But 3 times a week is somebody who has advertising on their blog, and that's what they do for a job. Because if you've really sat down and written a blog post, occasionally there's that 10-minute one that you can do that says, oh, I attended the chamber event today and the panel was fabulous and they talked about WordPress blogs and I'm so happy, blah, blah, blah. So that's a 10-minute one. When you put thoughtful, researched information out there, and if you recall from I don't know how many weeks ago, I gave you the number of words that people are looking for nowadays, 2,000 to 4,000. That's a time investment. None of us have that time, which is why we're doing this. We get it. We understand no one's got that kind of time. So we do the best we can, knowing that information, and we put it out there. So let's see, Marsha followed up with once a month is what I'm doing, but it's all over the month. Sometimes first week, sometimes the last. I need to be more consistent. Yes. Yes.
Marsha, I'm right there with you, Marsha.
Right. It's got to be like the first week or the first Wednesday. I mean, the closer you can get to the exact same day, the first Monday, the first Wednesday, the last, whatever it is, but that exact same day, then you train people. So here's what you run into. The most popular day is Monday. So that's good news because you know everyone's out there expecting new information. But that might also encourage you to move to Tuesday because the people, so you might not get lost as you're trying to build your audience.
Right.
So on a Monday, you know, I've been on Facebook and social media for 7 or 8 years, probably. So I know what's coming in on Mondays already. So in order for you to break in there, you might choose Tuesday.
Yeah, I tend to like Tuesday too for some reason.
Frankly, I feel overwhelmed on Mondays when I come in and I've got the email and then the social media stuff. Yeah. I think you all know that I'm a learner. I'm a participant. I want to know, so I have to look at everything, and it can be a stressful day.
Actually, Marsha, mid-month is okay. I think as long as you're consistent with the time frame where you do it, you pick what works for you, and your audience they'll be engaged and they'll look for it mid-month. I think it's just consistency. Yeah.
You're training, you know, keep in mind, you're training Google, you're training the audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
for me, it's accountability too. Like I have people that I'm accountable to, and that helps me get into my rhythm and my routine. And that's what I do with my clients too, is I'm always, you know, I'll hold them accountable and vice versa. So
So in my own defense right now, I'm going to say, if you go look at my website, you're going to see that it's new and it's naughty. I haven't done everything that I've been preaching to you, nor that Mara has preached to you. However, the piece I'm working on is, I had told you, don't ever, ever, ever delete a post or a page. Just don't do it. You need to redirect it. Well, in moving from my old website, which had to be at least 100 years old, I have so many pages to redirect that I'm still working on the redirection of those pages. So I am doing it, you just can't see it. That's my own defense.
Progress, right? That's what it is.
Right. I mean, I think that's what makes us human, that we're doing the same thing.
Nailed.
We're inconsistent when we should schedule posts.
I think that helps too. If
Yes.
you are say you have, like, what I'm going through right now, sort of this like content burst, let's say you have time and motivation to do it. Go ahead and write, and then schedule them out, right? So if you have 3 posts like I do, but I know that I'm not gonna be able to keep up that pace, go ahead and sort of schedule them, break them up so it makes sense. If that gets you into the habit, and if that's what works best for you, back when we talked about creating content, you have to know you and know what best works for you, because that's gonna feel best, and that's gonna come out through your writing too, is if you're doing it when it feels right to do it.
Right. So you can leave them in draft mode and come back and manually post them. You can have the WordPress schedule it for you by over on the right-hand side where it says publish. There's a little schedule thing there. You can publish in the future.
Yeah.
Naomi has written us something. Then we should schedule the post to a specific date. Well, it doesn't have to be the number. It can be the number, but I think you're better off choosing a day. The first Monday of the week, the first Monday of the month, the second Wednesday, the third Thursday. I think you're better off choosing a day as opposed to a date, because I didn't even know what today's date was, so.
That's true. That's true. Oh, Marcia, I love your honesty. Yeah, I've learned that it's the only way to. It's good to know that we're not alone, right? And I think I joke all the time with friends and colleagues that, I feel like the cobbler's kid. Like I don't have any shoes, right? So mine always comes last because my client work comes first. And I help my clients do their marketing before I do my own. So it works, but it does take time and patience and a lot of like self-forgiveness, I think, for those of us who kind of do our own things, right? And Karen, I think you've said that a couple of times. Just be patient with yourself.
Sure. But it does work, because I worked with a personal injury attorney who retired 4 years ago, and it was only this year. So for 3 years, her name and all the blog posts I did for her and the SEO I did on her blog kept coming up, and she's like, make it stop. And I said, I can't.
It won't.
Are you kidding me? I worked so hard on that. But anyways, it won't stop. So once it starts working, boy, it starts working. And even though my content is not mind-boggling, you will find that over time, once you create that consistency, it only takes 10 minutes to 2 hours for Google to pick it up. It happens fast. So don't write a post on a Tuesday night and publish it and say, I'll come back and re-get it on Wednesday, because it is already copied to the Google systems, by the way. And I got caught in that this week too. So anyways, we have to start wrapping up more. I could go on with stories and things I've learned this last week. But let's wrap it up.
All right. So everybody who's here today is going to get a link to the recorded webinar. Actually, everybody who registered, in addition to some resources that Karen and I are going to put together for you guys. You may or may not get an automatic thanks for attending through Zoom. Don't worry, there's more information coming in the next week from us. One thing that Karen and I do want to say is if you guys are looking for a little help harnessing your online overwhelm, email us and we'll be happy to set up a free discovery call and see what's going on, what you're struggling through, and see if there's an opportunity for us to help support you in all that you're doing, whether it's website, social, or everything kind of in between. And then the other piece of information, while this is the last in this particular Who webinar series, we are hosting a 2-day intensive this coming fall in September. Details are still being worked out, but we do want to share that with you guys. And if you're interested, have questions, want to get the details before everybody else, go ahead and visit harnessingonlineoverwhelm.com/2day and reserve your spot. There's going to be limited space available. We want to make this as hands-on and intensive a workshop for you guys. So definitely do that, and we'll make sure that you guys get on the list and get all the details once they're solidified. I think those are the big things. The 2-day is in person. Marsha, thanks for asking that question. It will be in person. Location is TBD. But we are actually looking at ways to make it interactive online too, if that's the only option for folks. So, but in person is going to be the way you get the most out of it. Is that an accurate statement, Karen? Oh, I think I lost Karen. But yeah, so it will be in person, but if that's going to be a challenge, let us know and we will see what we can do to work that out. That's the good thing about being flexible there. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. If you guys have any questions, you know how to find both Karen and myself. You'll be getting the recording, you'll be getting the slide deck, and again, any other information you need or ways to contact us, harnessingonlineoverwhelm.com. We'll be there for you. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we look forward to engaging with you guys soon. Take care.